Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships and healing from them. And so you're in a narcissistic relationship. Often we're talking about sort of like marriages and committed, intimate relationships. But this could even be happening in a family. But we're going to talk about coping when you're in one of these relationships, and coping with being told that it's your problem that this relationship's a mess, and maybe you're the one who's not trying hard enough. So lots of people in the world at large, obviously not on this channel, you chose to subscribe or watch this channel, but lots of people in the world at large do not understand narcissism. They don't. I was actually on a call the other day with an old friend who was very happy for me and the success of the book, and he said, "I'm so happy for you, Ram, but I'm actually really surprised. I had no idea that people cared about this issue so much." And he said, "I just don't know people like this." He's a pretty successful guy. He's well established. He's not narcissistic, but he's had a sort of well cordoned off life in many ways. He's been very lucky in many ways. And I found that fascinating because he just didn't get it, right? And in the work I do, no matter how hard I try to protect people from narcissistic relationships, to help them not get into them in the first place, it doesn't seem to work. People think narcissism's not a thing until it happens to them. And then it happens to them. And you know the rest of the story. I've actually found the prevention work in this space to be really frustrating. And this contributes a lot to all of the enabler stuff that may be happening in your life. Now remember that there are different kinds of enablers. There are enablers who are Pollyanna toxic positivity people. There are enablers who want to maintain the status quo and may be benefiting from it, or it soothes them. There are people who don't care who's getting hurt because they're sort of on the dole in some way from the narcissist and they're benefiting from that relationship. And then some enablers are people who may be mildly narcissistic themselves. However, whether they are enablers or the people around you are naive, or honestly if they're just plain dumb, I have no doubt that many, if not most of you who are watching this video have had the experience of when you hit the end of a narcissistic relationship. You just can't do the relationship anymore. And you decide to end it or minimize most contact, or you don't come around, you quit the job, whatever it may be. And you're told or asked by people, "Did you try hard enough?" Which is when you give the "Are you effing kidding me?" But unfortunately, when that is said to you, "Did you try hard enough?" and you're coming off of years, decades, perhaps a lifetime of self-doubt and self-blame, you may pause and ask yourself, "Did I try hard enough?" And it may be enough, that doubt, to throw you back in there for another round. And even though each time you go back into these relationships, yes, you do learn something more, but each time you get sucked back into one of these relationships, you also lose something. You lose more of yourself. You lose time. You just lose. And yes, you may crawl out of the relationship again, but that bug still stays planted in your ear. Did I try hard enough? I own that I'm a bit of a renegade in the mental health field because of what I do. I think social support is great and it's essential and it's so important to us as human beings, but I don't necessarily think that social support has to be found in family or marriage. Lots of people just lost in the biological family casino and had bad luck. You were born into toxic families. You were born to people who didn't know how to be parents or how to care for a child. Other people get into bad marriages for all the reasons people get into bad marriages. And then we view these bits of bad luck in a person's life as a life sentence. Obviously, when narcissism's on board, there isn't much to do. And for whatever reason, it's been an odd month with the kinds of stories I've been hearing from people. It's people who are stuck in narcissistically abusive family or marital situations. They're not in a position where they can get out, and they have folks around them telling them to try harder. If you try harder, it's like telling someone to drain the ocean with an eyedropper. There's nothing more you can do. It's not going to work. And instead, I watch these people suffer, doubt themselves, and walk on sharper and sharper eggshells and experience bottomless exhaustion. Try harder? Seriously? When they try harder, they're just faced with more invalidation, mockery, rage, passive aggression, and gaslighting. Telling someone to try harder is actually somewhat sadistic. It's setting them up for more abuse. Now, relationships may be about compromise and some sacrifice, but that compromise and sacrifice, when it's a normal, healthy relationship, is met with some form of reciprocity. You see the back and forth in these compromises. You feel safe. You feel heard. You feel seen. Compromise and sacrifice are not meant to be one-sided masochism. And telling someone in a narcissistic relationship to try harder actually perpetuates the abuse. But if this happened to you, somebody told you, did you try hard enough? It may haunt you. The already existing programmed self-doubt and self-blame amplified by the voices of those people who ask you, are you sure you tried everything? When a person finally either ends or goes no contact in a narcissistic relationship, we're seeing the teeny tiny top of an iceberg. There was years of monumental and mountainous suffering under the surface that no one saw. Years of second guessing and self-questioning and being gaslighted and believing you were a bad person. Healing is about slowly shedding that sense of responsibility, of clearly seeing that another person's behavior was unacceptable and harmful and destructive, and that it's okay to step away when you are being harmed. And the people who may ask you this idea, did you try hard enough? These might be all kinds of people in your life. Friends, family, colleagues, spiritual advisors like pastors, couples therapists, regular therapists, teachers, you name it. You know what you went through. And if anything, this all becomes a discernment exercise where you learn who is able to not gaslight you, trust you, believe you. And you've had and these are people who've had the observational ability to witness your suffering, even when you had it well hidden. All of us who's ever been in a narcissistic relationship tried hard enough. We stayed at the party way too long. We played the extra innings. We broke ourselves trying. Everyone stays in narcissistic relationships too long. Everyone tries everything. They're confusing, and that is a result. So next time someone asks you, did you try hard enough? You just learned a couple things about them. They weren't paying attention. They don't know a damn thing about narcissism. And ask yourself whether this is someone who gets to stay in your inner circle. Thanks again.